Have you ever felt as if you saw the world differently? Is there anything about you that people don't understand? Do others respond to your presence in mysterious ways, as if they detect something in you that you cannot completely define? If so, you're not alone. You are not ordinary. You were never designed to blend in. There are some who stroll amid the throng yet keep aside. Individuals possess a unique and powerful energy that causes the air around them to move. They are not just different. They were picked, marked by an invisible power, guided by a greater purpose than most people can fathom. They live in a world that respects and fears their existence. It is a path of immense strength, but also of profound loneliness. For not everyone is prepared to confront the reality. They are present throughout history and myth. The chosen ones have heard whispers of souls with knowledge beyond their years, who dispel illusions and cannot be held by the commonplace. But such a calling has a cost: confidentiality, solitude, and the weight of knowing. After all, as the expression goes, a secret shared by everyone is no secret. The weight of what you bear is not to be shared with anybody, for not everyone is ready to grasp it. This path is yours to claim. It is not necessary to change your personality in order to be understood. It is about embracing the full strength of your nature without apology. You are here for something bigger. The world may not always comprehend you, but it will sense your presence, whether you recognize it or not. The question is not about why you are different. The issue is, will you embrace it? There is a special form of presence so powerful that it reshapes the environment itself, an invisible weight pushing into the awareness of people around, a power that is neither loud nor demanding, yet cannot be ignored. It lingers like the aftermath of an unknown storm, unnerving the unprepared. Those who have this energy do more than just enter a location. They reshape it, twisting the flow of interaction and changing the rhythm of perception. Their presence resonates at a deep level, instilling a quiet reckoning in the hearts of people who cross their path. To be in close proximity to such a presence is to encounter an obvious weight, one that demands attention rather than seeks it. Nonetheless, this huge and uncontrolled energy unsettles others around them, eliciting feelings they were not prepared for. It does not provide consolation. It reawakens. During that awakening, individuals become aware of the grandeur of what is inside them. They deny their power while also ignoring the emptiness. However, this knowledge is seldom appreciated. The mind recoils from things it can't simply describe. People immediately withdraw. It is not a deliberate rejection, but rather the unconscious retention of the usual in the face of such power. Illusions and flimsy distractions disappear, leaving just the rawness of actuality. Most people opt to look away, finding comfort in the familiar. To stay would be to succumb to a metamorphosis. They did not beg for it. This quiet, unshakable strength serves as both a beacon and a barrier, luring people forward only to see them retreat in dread of what they may become. As a result, even amid the crowd, the person carrying this presence shines out, set aside not by choice, but by the weight of a truth that is too deep for the world to comprehend. You're here for a purpose. If you feel called, answer it. Click join to get access to rare information, in-depth insights, and a strong community. This is not just a membership. It is an awakening. Step into your divine mission. Join the chosen. Do not conform to this world, but rather be changed by the renewing of your mind. Romans 12 verse 2. There are many who travel this globe not as wanderers, but as searchers, spirits tuned into a frequency that most others cannot hear. They move, think, and feel differently. The world may term them loners, but in reality they are listeners. Listeners to something deeper and older. They aren't lost. They are being guided like an eagle flying above the storm, seeing the scenery from heights others are afraid to reach. These exceptional people see that not all companies are good, and not all words deserve to be heard. They retire not out of weakness, but because of wisdom. Just like a seed cannot thrive when thrown on hardened ground, they understand that their presence is better saved for areas where their roots may take hold and their essence is not squandered on shallow soil. In large group settings, their soul feels disoriented, as if a melody created for the sky is being performed on a damaged instrument. Conversations are like candles in the wind, fleeting, delicate, and missing the warmth of actual lighting. For them, connection is more than just numbers. It's about substance. They are hungry for significance, not noise. When meaning is missing, stillness is a welcome refuge, not an exile. These people aren't here to fit in. They are here to stand apart and be still. When the world is agitated, to be profound. When the world seems shallow, to be lightweight. When the world is dull, some people will misinterpret their distance, mistake it for arrogance, or call it solitude. But they know better. They've seen what happens when the world attempts to mold them into something they're not. They understand that not every area can withstand their presence. Not every heart is ready for the truth they bear. So they choose the way less traveled. They do so out of choice, not obligation. They wait for those who express the unsaid and identify the invisible, who are unafraid of genuine intimacy. And while they wait, they are not empty. They're not alone. They are only preparing for the moment when the proper souls will meet them at the appropriate time. Because ultimately, those who are called are never completely alone. They are merely waiting for the world to catch up. The appearance of someone with unmistakable power creates a contradiction, serving as both an invitation and a warning. A gravity that pulls and creates distance. There is something in them that stirs the unsaid, a silent power that pulls at the margins of human awareness, breaking illusions painstakingly crafted over a lifetime. To meet such a presence is to face a sharper mirror than one is prepared to confront. It is not just appreciation that develops, but a combustible combination of wonder and anxiety, an awareness of something both familiar and strange. They illumine not by intention, but by necessity, shedding light in ways that reveal what others have long hidden behind layers of distraction. Their sheer presence evokes something primal, a need for truth, depth, and unadulterated reality. Nonetheless, many people are hesitant to embrace this calling. To get too near risks unraveling, having the delicate frameworks of self-perception shattered in a moment of unguarded clarity. As a result, adoration gives way to reluctance. Fascination turns into concern. The push and pull of human nature is never more visible than in the presence of someone who lives outside the confines of the superficial city. People go forward, wanting for what they perceive, only to withdraw when confronted with the enormity of the truth. It is neither a rejection nor an acceptance. It is the dance of uncertainty, the underlying conflict between curiosity and dread. And in this delicate equilibrium, the one in the middle is alone. Not because they want to be, but because they were never designed to be confined. Deep beckons to deep at the sound of your waterfalls. All your waves and billows have washed over me. Approximately 40-7. Some people go through life dissatisfied with the shallow and the surface. They are called to something deeper and greater. And when you bear that type of weight, when your spirit moves with the tides of something larger, you'll discover that not everyone can swim in the seas you call home, like a lamp glowing in the darkness. Those who can see beyond the curtain of daily life shine a light that pulls others in. Some come looking for warmth. Others come out of curiosity. But not everyone is prepared for the flames. The fact is that genuine connection is not about proximity. It's about resonance. Those who have been made apart understand that discovering genuine resonance is like looking for gold in a world that only appreciates glitter. Many will be captivated by the presence of someone with depth. However, few will remain once they grasp the depth required. It is simple to appreciate from afar and stand in the light of something remarkable. A real connection, true connection necessitates more. It demands for transparency. It demands for vulnerability. It calls for change. And transition is unpleasant. Most individuals do not want to be undone. They do not want their barriers shaken. Their illusions were shattered. Their carefully manufactured identities are revealed. They prefer the security of the familiar, the predictability of the surface, when nothing is too much and everything remains the same. As a result, people who are consumed by an inner fire, who refuse to dull their light, and who bear truth that is too fierce to be softened, will often travel alone. Not because they want seclusion, but because the world does not always know how to deal with individuals who cannot be contained. Their sheer presence destroys the illusion, exposes fallacies, and compels people to confront deeper concerns they spend their lives avoiding. And that type of presence is not always appreciated. But here's the beauty of it. Solitude is not empty. It is a refinement ground. It is a location where clarity is sharpened, power is developed, and vision is made plain. And when the proper individuals meet, those who have gone through their own flames and have learned to embrace depth rather than fear it, the bond that formed is unbreakable. These aren't transitory friendships. These are not surface-level interactions. They are lifelines, anchors in a world that floats aimlessly. In that instant, people who had spent their lives apart recognized something fundamental. They were never really alone. They were only waiting for those who had been summoned to similar depths. When they meet one another, the once vast and lonely waters become a shelter, a position of power, a place of belonging. You're not here by chance. If you feel the pull, you know deep within that you have been chosen. This is your moment. To get deeper insights, click the Super Thank You button and donate $50 or more. Exclusive information and a route that is consistent with your spiritual destiny. This is not only a gift. It's a proclamation, a step toward being the person you were intended to be. Take the call, walk with us, and totally embrace your destiny. Your adventure starts now. The lonely path of people driven by purpose is often influenced by unseen fights, conflicts that extend beyond the physical and permeate the entire fabric of reality. These battles are fought not with physical weapons, but with the lasting power of character, integrity, and truth, the same ideals that characterize them. Their presence is more than just an addition to a room. It is a transforming force, an undercurrent that changes reality itself. Wherever they go, they stir the unseen, sparking a subtle but powerful alchemy that tests the borders between illusion and truth. Revealing light in regions shrouded by deception, being in their presence is a kind of cleansing, as they do more than just mirror the world around them. They hold a mirror to it, displaying not just the surface, but also the unknown depths underneath. The inconsistencies between our genuine selves and the personalities we have created are shown in this mirror, revealing the truth. We have spent a lifetime suppressing the discomfort caused by such exposure, which is not passive. It triggers a protective response, which typically takes the shape of withdrawal or even conflict. This battle is about identity more than physical power, because the mere presence challenges the flimsy facade that many have constructed. In this manner, they become unintentional warriors wielding a shield built not from steel, but from the clarity of their mission and the unyielding strength of their spirit. Every move they take prompts the world to ask questions. It may not be ready to respond, creating an ongoing conflict between what is and what is conceivable. Despite their initial reluctance, their quest becomes a road of change, not just for themselves but for the whole globe. They are willing to change. Do not save up for yourself. Store up your treasures on earth, where moths and rust ruin and thieves break in and steal. Treasures in heaven. Matthew 6:19-20. Some individuals base their life on what they see, which fades with the norms and expectations placed out before them, like a well-traveled road. However, other people take a different approach. They aren't attracted to what glitters, not influenced by the changing winds of acceptability. They are not looking to fit in. They are here to grow, to break down obstacles, to go beyond what is anticipated and into what is intended. It's not an easy journey. Living in a world defined by tradition while bearing a soul geared for evolution has always meant feeling like an outcast. Being put into a tight stall is similar to a stallion supposed to gallop wild. They find themselves unable to fit into the area that society has designated for them. They don't deny, but it just doesn't fit. Their mentality goes too far. Their spirit goes too deep. The world instructs them to follow the rhythm, yet their steps do not fit the beat. They do not reject the world, but rather see it differently. The structures that keep most people in place seem weak in their hands. The talks that keep people amused seem like hollow echoes of something they are supposed to transcend. They are not just looking for significance. They need it in the same way that lungs want oxygen or a fire requires fuel. They have no option but to seek something bigger, something that does not need them to lower themselves in order to belong. So they walk aside, not in anger, but in clarity, not to isolate, but to defend what is dear to them. They are attracted instead to locations where words have meaning, where the truth is not only uttered but lived. They want connection, but not the type found solely in the shallows. They require depth. They need a purpose. They need to stand in places where they are not tolerated but rather understood. Their mere existence is an act of defiance, a refusal to compromise authenticity for acceptability, a silent revolt against a society that would rather they conform than soar. They demonstrate that genuine belonging is discovered not by bending oneself to fit, but by living a life so full of purpose that it generates its own space. Finally, those who have traveled this route for a long time know one thing for certain. Those that seek depth will always discover one another, and they will realize they were never really alone. There are people whose lives are directed by an unstoppable force, an internal call that is not soft nor ephemeral, but a thunderous demand that pervades every fiber of their existence. This calling is more than just an inclination. It is an unmistakable force that draws individuals to something far higher than themselves. It is a road that requires dedication, a path that requires discipline, contemplation, and the ongoing polishing of their talents to themselves. This purpose is not a choice, but rather a need as fundamental to their life as breathing in the midst of such a significant task. Distractions from ordinary social standards seem mismatched, like remnants of a world they no longer inhabit. Idle chat and superficial interactions seem like pouring water into a vase with no bottom. Energy squandered on endeavors that do not nurture the soul. So they seek isolation not as an escape, but as a conscious act of preparation. They get clarity via quiet. Within stillness, they strengthen their eyesight. Every time spent in thought strengthens their commitment, enabling them to pour their essence into the task they were meant to do. This separation is not a rejection. It is about alignment. The world is too noisy to hear the whispers of faith, so they move away, not to be separated from others, but to be completely present in their goal. Their path takes sacrifice, but in that sacrifice, they find the rarest of freedoms, the capacity to tread a route devoid of illusion, guided simply by the energy that brought them into being in the first place. If your heart is overflowing with God's blessings, let that love radiate. Click the Super Thank You button and donate $20 or more to sow seeds of faith that will change countless lives. Your giving exemplifies His richness. Be a channel for His grace and watch His kingdom grow through you. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 4610. Sometimes the biggest voice in your life isn't coming from the outside. It is the one speaking from inside. And if you never slow down, you never get away from the mob. You will never hear it. See, the world will persuade you that alone equals loneliness, that if you're strolling alone, something's awry. But it is not true. The reality is, certain journeys must be traveled alone. Some trips need isolation, not as punishment, but as preparation. Think about an eagle. It does not fly in swarms like sparrows or pigeons. It does not rely on the collective noise to confirm its existence. It soars alone, not because it was rejected, but because it was intended for greater heights. Winds that might shake lesser birds simply propel the eagle higher. Similarly, individuals who are set aside are not supposed to dwell in crowded areas. Their wings were designed for something bigger. To accept this invitation is not to go into exile. It is a step towards empowerment. However, such transformation can only occur when isolation is combined with purpose. It's not just about being alone. It depends on what you do in that place. The people who benefit from their isolation are those who utilize it to listen, learn, and nourish the depths of their being. Clarity emerges when the world becomes silent and distractions recede. Self-acceptance is more than just recognizing who you are. It owns it. It is standing in the fullness of your nature, refusing to compromise for the sake of convenience. It is about recognizing and enjoying your differences as a gift rather than a burden. The world does not need additional duplicates, echoes, or watered-down versions of the truth. It requires individuals who are prepared to stand steadfast in their sincerity. So here's the deal. The more you embrace your individuality, the more others will notice you, understand you, and speak the same language of depth and purpose. Not everyone will identify with your path, and that's okay. The appropriate people will, and when they do, you'll understand that going away was never about being lonely. It was about creating room for something bigger. So do not be afraid of the stillness. Do not oppose the loneliness. It isn't your adversary. This is your altar. It is where the next chapter of your destiny is being written. And when the time comes, you will emerge from that spot stronger rather than weakened. Prepare to ascend. Prepare to fly. Even people who flourish in their own company crave companionship. Others with a desire for depth, truth, and purpose. Though uncommon, such relationships exist and are waiting to be found in places where authenticity thrives. Finding these people takes patience and an openness to unusual pathways, since they often exist outside of regular social institutions, whether via creative circles, spiritual societies, or talks that go beyond the commonplace. The quest for real connection is less about seeking and more about sending resonance-like signals across long distances, waiting for alignment beyond connection. Solitude is a rich field for change. Those who learn to manage their time alone may transform it into limitless creativity and self-development. They are channeling their discoveries into art, philosophy, or spiritual investigation. In this sense, their path is characterized by a strong dedication to self-discovery and service rather than a vacuum. Isolation becomes a crucible, a place where raw potential is polished, vision sharpened, and the person completely embraces the immensity of their own life. You are the light of the planet. A city located on a hill cannot be concealed. Matthew 514. Some people strive to blend in, shrinking themselves to fit into the mold that the world has set for them. Then there are individuals who are not designed to fit in at all. Those who stick out, not by chance, but by purpose. These are the people that have something unique, something unshakable, that causes others to stop and pay attention, even if they don't understand why. It may seem lonely at first. When you're given a stronger light, it might seem like the darkness surrounding you pushes back even more. But light was never intended to be concealed. It was never intended to dull itself or make others comfortable. A lighthouse does not apologize for shining. A city on a hill does not lower itself so that it might blend into the backdrop. Those that possess honesty, depth, and purpose will naturally stand out. But here's something many people don't realize. Solitude is not punishment. It is preparedness. It is where the biggest change occurs. When the distractions recede and the crowd's voices no longer dictate your course of action, that's when you start to hear the voice that genuinely counts. That is when your mission starts to take form. You are not destined to suffer. You have been set aside to develop. As you accept this route, you will begin to see it for what it really is. Not seclusion, but revelation. You cease seeking for a place to belong in environments that were never designed for you. Instead, you build new areas. Spaces in where sincerity is not just tolerated, but embraced. You cease reducing yourself in order to be understood by others who were never intended to understand the whole of who you are. Instead, you focus your attention on people who perceive you and realize the same depth inside themselves. And as the metamorphosis develops, something extraordinary occurs. The exact thing that previously made you feel alone is now the reason you seek out the world. It is not always easy to comprehend people who walk in truth, but they are necessary. It needs individuals who refuse to live in illusion, who remove the masks and stand fast in something genuine. Your very presence becomes a challenge, an opportunity for others to delve deeper, to see past the surface, to question what they've taken for granted. Do not be afraid of quiet. Don't shrink to fit in. Do not confuse isolation with emptiness. This approach does not include loss. It is about discovering. And those who are courageous enough to walk will not only discover their own purpose, but will also pave the path for others to do the same. As this journey progresses, it entails a duty well beyond the ego. It is an invitation to others, a request to come forward and share the knowledge gained from traveling this path. The influence of people who dare to live truly extends far beyond their own lives. The fortitude to stand in one's own essence is not just an individual accomplishment, but also a gift to the community, proving that sincerity is a liberating force rather than a burden. For those who recognize themselves in this journey, the message is plain. Let your voice be heard. Talk about your adventure, not for affirmation, but to pave the way for others who have yet to muster the courage to do the same. In the act of sharing, solitude changes into a relationship tied not by convention, but by the unbreakable thread of human experience. Each narrative is like a thread sewn into a greater tapestry, proof that, even at times of seeming solitude, no one actually travels alone.